Hello, I'm the Eternal Newbie. The extra L is for loath, as in, when the DM forces your good character to join an assassin group that follows Loth, you know, the goddess of darkness, drow, evil, and spiders, you're gonna have a bad time. Let's get to it, shall we? First time player here, I am playing a good-natured kobold artificer. We had no session 0, a big red flag, I understand it now. But I thought at the time that it would be okay, since most info about setting and stuff was provided to us by the DM through messages. We discussed our characters a little, but only classes/species, nothing more. The setting is a more realistic fantasy with science elements and a lot of homebrew stuff, including the entire map. The second red flag was that we had no in-depth discussion about what we wanted from the game and our alignments and motivations. We were promised a sandbox setting in the Underdark. That was pretty much it. Our team consisted of DM, the DM, me, the aforementioned kobold, D, the somewhat problem player, Cely rogue, Zoe, the noob 2, Tabaxi rogue, and Joe, the dice-cursed, semi-noob, dwarf cleric. We started in the tunnels, where my character wanted to hop into a passing caravan and move to the actual Underdark, but the caravan was attacked and we had to crawl our way through the tunnels to safety. Cool, right? I thought so too. Session 1 consisted mostly of encounters and little to no role-playing, especially considering that me and Zoe were completely new to D&D, and Joe had in-real-life issues, allergy, but I still had some fun. Session 2 was the beginning of the disaster. It was kind of rushed, and consisted of a full session-long mine crawl against spiders. Important later, since they were in the mine because of a drow loath cultist. But before that happened, a drow border patrol agent was quite dismissive and abusive to me and Zoe, me especially. But it was sorted out, and afterwards we found out the guy is just an asshole in general. So it's completely understandable for him to be mean to me and the Tabaxi. The problem with this session was mostly because we were railroaded in the crawl, and it was not much fun rolling dice to hit a spider, only for 3 more to come out and attack us. However, my character was very delighted that for all this dangerous work, he was given a merc license by the mine owner, a dwarf, since it meant that he was noticed and was finally viewed as a bit more than just a pest. Okay, I'm being honest here. That doesn't sound so bad. Maybe a little bit of player-DM disagreements, but overall, nothing too terrible. I mean, OP didn't go into any real detail, so maybe the railroading was worse than it seems, but to me it just sounds like they didn't enjoy the session much. Maybe they just don't mesh with the DM. At least that's my impression. But what do you think? I mean, it's not like it's about to get much, much worse. What's that? Oh, it is. Session 3 was the boiling point. We finally finished the mission, got level 3s, but the problem happened after we moved to another location, a small town. It turns out that Dee's character was very racist towards dwarves, and us having a dwarf on the team became a real problem, which escalated into a tavern brawl when Joe insulted a drunk and ash-holish dwarven NPC with Dee drawing weapons in a fistfight. Dee went full murder hobo mode against the NPCs, threatening to kill the downed one out of character and laughing about it. Meanwhile, my character was studying with an NPC, so in-game I missed the whole situation. Afterwards, this almost went to a PvP between Joe and Dee, but the DM managed to stop it. PvP is allowed in this game. Well, that's a huge red flag. At the end of the session, Joe rolled very poorly in an encounter with some underdog fauna and almost died. He was rolling poorly the entire campaign, and the situation with Dee made him quit the game. The problem situation for me was that the innkeeper was quite surprised to see a merc kobold and said something about cooking a kobold, and when I shockingly asked to elaborate, they said that it's not them, of course, but there are people who treat us like a very rare, and probably illegal since the homebrewed Underdark was slowly moving to a more democratic system, delicacy. Out of character, I was quite shocked, but whatever. There is some weird shit in D&D, right? I just brushed it off. Here comes the big thing, Session 4. We started our move towards the capital of the Underdark in a passing carriage, but it turned out to be a railroad bait and switch. Our carriage was in fact driven by members of the Assassin's Guild, and that branch was also a Loth cult. We also met 2 new players while on the move, but nothing else happened before we got knocked out in an almost cutscene. We could roll perception and con saves, but it was clear that there was no real way to escape, and brought to the Assassin's Guild headquarters. After the session ended, the DM revealed that this was indeed a cutscene, because if anyone tried to do something drastic, the NPCs controlling the carriage would have just murdered everyone except the new players. What followed was nothing less than a nightmare of a cutscene. We woke up tied and inside the Assassin's Guild headquarters, where the leader wants to recruit us, a random group of low-level characters, for some reason. My character wants nothing to do with this, and I told him that I am not a killer, and I just want to become a chemist/engineer. Well, what happens next? The leader takes off his glove and starts slapping my character in the face, talking shit about me and kobolds in general, about how useless and worthless we are, slapping me like I'm a bad-behaving dog. I was appalled. I could not do anything because my character was tied, and trying to say something offensive in return/attack with my maw would have likely resulted in my death, and most likely the deaths of my teammates. This was very infuriating for me out of character because I could not do anything about it, just sit there and take it. I was being verbally graped by an NPC. And the final moment, before starting to slap me, he takes my license. Technically it was not an official document, but it still made NPCs a bit more friendly to me, and it was sentimentally very important to my character. And burns it and says something like, he, you stupid useless kobold. What are you going to do now without this paper? Alright, I take it back about this not being so bad. If that was the kind of railroading we got in the first part too, then DM should be wearing his conductor hat shouting, "All aboard!" This doesn't sound like a D&D game. This sounds like a DM forcing their script on the players. Oh god, I hope it's a script, because if not, it's a fantasy and ew! After some solo roleplay with other players, we were brought into a chamber where all except me were untied. Of course the cultists first told me that I'm only alive because I saved a new PC from death, not really important to the story, and that 2 PCs joined the guild, one having no real choice, and the other happily. They then said I could also join that guild, after which they untied me too. I genuinely hoped that they would just kill my character because I disassociated from that session right after the slapping. As the DM finished speaking, I went full WTF mode and almost rage quit right at that moment. What is my motivation to do this? What is my motivation to continue with this group where 2 NPCs have joined the guild? The guild that just did all this shit to me and is tied to the cult my character hates. Considering the fact that all my character wants is recognition and to prove that kobolds can be more than most think of them, yeah bro, join the Assassin's Guild. That's the best way to continue as a good kobold. Continue with the party. You'll definitely not become viewed as a murder hobo. After the session ended, I had a long talk with the DM about this, and he promised to retcon my involvement with the guild and do some parallel scenario in a solo roleplay with me, which was quite a nice change. Anyway, am I overreacting? I feel like I am, but I can't do anything about it. It just feels so unfair and dismissive to me. The biggest issue with that event, aside from zero player agency, was that the leader was not some kind of big bad evil guy. And even if he is, almost half my team joined his ranks right away, with D happily accepting the offer. Of course, now my character does not know all this and has little to no idea about the Assassin's Guild, but should I even try to continue if something like this can happen again? Keep in mind that this is my only group, and I am very insecure about playing with people who I don't know. I know everyone in this game, not in real life, but still, so I don't really want to leave. If I am not just overreacting, how can I convey this to the DM better? Also, is this even normal for D&D? No, OP, you are not overreacting. This is not normal for D&D. If the DM wanted to play an evil game, that should have been made abundantly clear before the session 0 you never had. I mean, that's what this is, right? An evil campaign? I can think of no other description for joining an assassin group that glorifies Lolth. This sounds more like a story the DM has laid out, and you and the rest of the PCs are just pawns forced to follow that story. I know OP doesn't want to leave the group, but remember, no D&D is always better than bad D&D. But enough from me. What do you think? Would you have gone along with this? Would you have quit? I'd love to hear your take on this in comment form. Likes are likewise appreciated. And if you're new around here, how about sticking around with a sub? In any case, thank you so much for watching, and as always, play your character. Don't let your character play you.